Stourbridge Junction Station. I've never travelled beyond this stop before, so that means I'm about to stop at some new stations for me. Hagley, Blakedown, and Kidderminster. There goes my train. For the longest time, I had 3 Chiltern railway stations that I had never stopped at. And they were the 3 that I just stopped at. However, Chiltern Railways no longer come to them. It's just West Midlands Railways. But I've finally done them. Kidderminster actually has a new station building that only opened 4 years ago. But if you turn around, you get transported back 100 years or so. Not only do you have an old carriage works, but you also have a completely separate station for the heritage Severn Valley Railway line. This is Kidderminster town. It's just quite cool to see a station kind of stuck in a different era. Now, although the station may look Victorian, I think it only dates from 1984 because it was built specifically for the Heritage Railway line. When this was an actual passenger line, trains just ran into the current Kidderminster station. Historically, the Great Western Railway, which would have operated services on this line, traditionally called their stations with the suffix of town to convince people to use their stations rather than their competitors. This is ever so closer to Kidderminster's town, but we're not here for the trains, we're here for the canals. But to get there, we do actually have to pass through the town itself. I was going to say that Kidderminster's town centre is nothing to write home about, but there are some nice old buildings here, rather unhelpfully obscured by the scaffolding though, which is a shame. This I quite like. It's clearly an old wharf building that's actually been turned into a Premier Inn. And here it is, the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal, quite possibly the longest canal name in the country. And we're starting here at Kidderminster Bridge, number 16. Quite a long bridge actually to go underneath. I feel we should keep track of how many bridges and locks we pass on this canal walk today. So it's quite urban to begin with, of course, as we're in Kidderminster. So there's already a lot to see, such as this aqueduct here over the River Stour, I believe this is. And there's also a really nice church just ahead of me. But I've just realised I'm supposed to be on the other side of the canal, so I'm actually going to have to use the lock gate to get over to it. So I'm starting to leave Kidderminster behind. I've walked up the canal a bit and it's starting to get more rural already. Now, I looked at doing some walks on the canals in the West Midlands last year and I was surprised to find just how many there were. There's a very intense network of so many waterways that link up and you can do so many walks along them. I did end up doing one along the Birmingham and Worcester Canal. First of all, going around the city centre on a couple of canals, passing by Curzon Street station, an old station that's now being turned into the new HS2 terminus, and then down right alongside a railway line through places like University and Selly Oak, and past Cadbury World, which is a place that I wanted to go to for a while, so I did divert off of the towpath to go and have a look. And I did think that the prices for chocolate in there were going to be extortionate, but actually I thought they were pretty reasonable, and in some cases were even cheaper than if I bought it in the local corner store. That walk ended at Kings Norton, and when I decided today that I wanted to do another canal walk, I looked at my long list of them to decide which one to go and do. I looked at potentially going to Walsall, I looked at doing a section of the Birmingham Canal, but I settled on this one because if I was to do a second canal walk in the West Midlands last year, I was going to do this one. Here's our second lock, but our fourth bridge. It's quite a modest little one, isn't it? Wolverley Court Lock that one was. Whoa! I wasn't expecting that. I heard the water. It's quite mesmerising watching that, actually. The River Stour is actually running down there. It's kind of following the course of our canal today, so we may see it a few times. I am hoping that it is the River Stour, because I know of another one out in Suffolk through Manningtree. I've done a walk slightly along that before, the Essex Way from Manningtree to Harwich. But we're going to be ending today in a place called Stourbridge, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory where that name comes from. But I think this is a classic case where the river and the place name don't exactly match up. For example, you have the River Cam, but then you have Cambridge. I think this is the same situation here. I've just realised there's other cases like this too. Weymouth, for example, the mouth of the River Wey, but yet it's Weymouth, not Weymouth. The English language is weird, man. There's a strange little rock formation on the bank of the other side of the canal here. It's interesting to see the roots growing right on the kind of cliff edge. Looks like we've got another double bridge and lock action here. Walk through to the other side, brings you out by the lock inn. It's our first little settlement since leaving Kidderminster. There's a really nice building over that way. I'm assuming it's a church. It does look like a church. This is a very twisty, meandering part of the canal here. It kind of goes back on itself. I do wonder in situations like this why they built the canal in this way. This is the 4th out of 4 locks that I have filmed on my walk so far. There are more bridges than locks which I've seen, and I haven't filmed all of them, but I feel like I should keep it up now and just film every single one I pass. I've noticed it looks like there's some sort of cave on the other side. I've got to go check that out. Right, let's see what's in here then. Whoa, whoa, this is way darker than I thought it was. There's my shoes, they stand out a mile away, don't they? It is like a proper cave in here. And there's even like a little ledge, so you could hang out if you really wanted to. It looks like it goes on forever, but I promise you this is like, I'm by the wall. There you go. This is cool. I like this. Some sort of industry here. On top of a bridge. I'm in some place called Cookley. Ah, and it has a tunnel as well. I guess this counts as one of our bridges actually, yeah, number 23. Well, let's head in. I always really enjoy getting to go into a canal tunnel. That was cool. I wasn't expecting the landscape around here to be like this. Just rocks right alongside the canal. Well, I wasn't expecting here in a holiday home to see old semaphore signals over there. The thing with canal walks is that they are very easy to do because you're just on one path all day. You can't get lost. You don't have to keep checking your phone to make sure you're going in the right direction. It's very linear. You just get on the towpath and you walk. That might therefore make the walk a bit samey, but I've rarely come across a section of canal where there hasn't been diversity throughout. The landscape changes or there's some interesting things to see along the route. I've rarely been bored on a canal walk, and so I am more than happy to walk several miles worth of canals in one day. I mean, how can I not like this? I've lucked out with the weather as well. There's a bridge up there. We've got these rocks again, which I think are quite cool. And then down here, you have the waters of the River Stour. Lock number 5, Whittington Lock. And we're coming up to another development soon called Durnsley. We've come right out into the heart of Durnsley now. Or is it Kinver, as this lock suggests? This feels like a proper rural stretch of the canal here. You have a forest over there too, which looks very cool. It's just been really pleasant walking this canal today. There's like a water cave down there, doesn't it? A little brick pillar, I guess they built to support the rocks above so it doesn't come crumbling down into the water. It's a very quiet section of canal to be walking. My favourite so far since we've left Kinver. Our second canal tunnel of the day, Dunsley Tunnel. I'm aware I called it Durnsley earlier and that was a mistake. It's shorter than our previous one. I love how it's just cut straight through the rocks here. I find this really cool. It's a bit of a marvel of engineering really, isn't it? That they managed to construct this. Feels like I'm in a cave. I know I keep mentioning caves, but it does. It really does. Stupony Lock, our 8th along the Staffs and Walks Canal. I've just walked underneath 2 bridges, but one of them was labelled 31A when there already was a 31. So when we get to the end, we're going to have to add 1 bridge to whatever the final number is. And this is bridge number 33. We joined the canal at bridge 16, so in total that's 18 bridges, but add 1 for the 31A, that's 19, and 8 locks. And the reason why I'm mentioning this now is because this is where we are turning off of the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. This branch to the right is actually the Stourbridge Canal, and so it makes sense that we'll be following this instead. So thank you, Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal. You were very nice to walk along. The question, of course, is do we start counting locks from the beginning again? Because it's a different canal. I'll try and remember how many we pass. I mean, we've got 2 here immediately on the Stourbridge Canal, so that's 10 now. 4 locks bridge. Oh no, is there more? Oh, there's already 1 there. Okay. We're gonna have to start counting bridges again from the beginning now too, to add on to our 19. Whoa! That's an awesome reflection the water is making. Having to cross over to the other side of the canal here. I have been walking on the left side of it all day, which I think is the side I prefer for river and canal walks, so I'm happy to be crossing. Thought for a minute there wasn't actually a 4th lock, but there is. Made it to the top of Stourton's locks now. They're having a full-on barbecue over there, and you know what? I don't blame them, because this is a really nice place to have one. I'm passing over the River Stour again on an aqueduct. It stayed with us because, you know, it needs to get to Stourbridge too. It hasn't gone along the Staffs Canal. And the River Stour is running near to Worsley Junction Bridge here, where the canal splits in 2 again. We're actually going to be heading to the right. It is still the Stourbridge Canal, it's just an arm of it that leads into the town. The main branch carries on forward, I'm not counting that lock ahead, and it eventually joins up with the Dudley Canal, I believe. So we are on to our final leg of the walk now along this arm of the canal into Stourbridge, and it's looking like it's going to be a much more urban stretch. And for this stretch of the canal, we have swapped sides. to be walking on the right-hand side of it. You know what, it is still a rural section. It's opening up very wide here as well, the canal. So I make this bridge 28 and 12 locks on the canal from Kidderminster to Stourbridge, and we've reached the end, literally the end, because the canal can go no further than here. And by the end of the canal, I guess you have the Stourbridge itself, which is going over the River Stour. This is our last glimpse of it today. So like Kidderminster, I have to walk through the town centre to get between the canal and the station. This is much more quieter than Kidderminster this morning. From Kidderminster town station to Stourbridge town station, and I await an unusual train. This is the Parry People Mover, the most bizarre looking train you'll find anywhere in the UK. I travelled on this once before when it was in London Midland green colours. Now it's in West Midlands purple. It's a quirky little ride. I love it. I've just got the whole train to myself. A dream come true, this is. There it goes, the Stourbridge Shuttle. The shortest branch line in Britain from Stourbridge town to Stourbridge Junction. You know, I thought before that the quirkiness of it runs dry quick, but actually that was a lot of fun. It's not overrated at all. And now we've made it to Stourbridge Junction, coming full circle from where we began this morning. What's brilliant about Stourbridge Junction station is that it has a station cat named George. I would have loved to have had a George meets George the station cat moment, but it's very late on a Sunday evening. I think he's off shift, and even if he was here I wouldn't have had much time because I kind of need to make the next train, otherwise I'm not getting back home to London tonight. Yeah, I should probably go. We all know they only won that because of the cat. Those are the abandoned tram platforms by Birmingham Snow Hill Station. They got taken out of use when the trams got extended further into the town centre, where I'm now going to be walking through. Because I have 40 minutes to connect with my train back to London, I thought I'd spend that time walking through the streets of Birmingham. Because what else am I going to do? God, my train gets back to London at midnight.